says this hangout on there is live, and I am going to share my screen. Yeah, and my screen is being shared. Okay, and I guess I could kill you, and so I've been working on the next view model. I completed one view model so far, and I have an automated test. That view model was, I think it was profile. Well, hold up, let me go back. That view model was this registration.view model. I wrote a blog post about the implementation details, and I also have an automated test, registration, something like that. And so that's my automated test for that view model, targeting registration validated with email and matching passwords, as well as registration submitted after being validated. Okay. So that was basically building out the view model and ending it with an automated test targeting two different scenarios that view model should support. Now, in addition to that, I recently finished the best of my knowledge so far when the portal.recent view model. All right, portal.recent view model is within the Keza.io, which is, if I go to the web app, Nikeza.io, your landing page is going to basically have, well, when you're logged in, if I say scott.nimrod at bizmonger.net, let's say something like that, then I still got to fix this. I don't want to do web development, man. I don't want to fix anything on here. I'm more excited about native development and just back-end development. Anyway, what I want to implement on the case of mobile is like this page right here of this web app. So you have a provider such as Richard Campbell, Stephen Proctor, Mark Seaman, Scott Vlashin, and you have some links that you could just click on, right? And it goes to that content, whether that content is a blog post, or if it's a YouTube video, or if it's a podcast, or if it's an answered question. That's what you have over here, right? And so working on the case of mobile, that's what I'm currently focused on. I did the registration form, which is this right here. I wrote the automated test for it, and now I want to do the recent links of a provider, which means that there's going to be a collection of providers that have recent links that I'm going to display when the user launches their application and they're already signed in, right? So, okay, now what? Well, in order to make that happen, I think I'd have enough logic in here within my view model for this portal.recent. And what I want to do is I want to add an automated test. So specifically example-based tests. I'll call it example-based because, well, to the best of my knowledge, there's two types of tests that I'm interested in. One is example-based tests, and the other one is property-based tests. I did a YouTube on property-based tests for the Automation Guild last year, in which this is really part of the ecosystem of functional programming that you're just not going to really observe in object-oriented programming. But in functional programming, it's a very viable tool for proving that your code works, in which you challenge your assumptions about a function. And basically, this tool will basically generate edge cases that prove that your assumptions are wrong. Anyway, so that's the reason why I call this library right here example-based. And I want to add a new file to this. I want it to be called, we could call it whatever, but it's called latest .fs. How about that? Okay. This latest .fs, I need to make sure that it's a sibling of registration when it gets compiled. And yeah, so I want to make sure that this, no, wrong one. I want to make sure that this latest .fs can actually call test API. So to do that, I need to make sure that it's in a certain type of order, okay? Now, with that said, this is going to be a unit test, right? So we can pretty much just copy this up here and do something like that. And this Nikeza.mobile.ui logic dot, yeah, I don't know, where's my IntelliSense? This is going to be called uilogic.portal.recent. That's what I want to import because that's where my view model is. So we do something like this, okay? And sooner or later, I have something like type view model. Yeah. And I say equals, okay? And I say member, oh, what am I doing? This is a test. So I'm testing a view model. Do something like that, test. And I would say let, and I say, what do I want to test? I want to test that we can load recent links from providers, okay? Returns a unit equals, every test will have a setup, every test will have a test, every test will have a verify, and every test would have or will have a cleanup, but we're going to rely on our garbage collection to do that. So our setup is going to be let, what's this called, latest equal view model, something like that, okay? And our test is going to be latest dot load, something like that. And our verify is going to be that our latest dot providers list dot is empty. We could say not. Could say list dot providers should equal, or I don't know how I'm going to write this. Should equal true, something like that. No, this not should be list of providers. That will probably come after this. That's me sneezing, but I don't like the way it looks. Get rid of the not. Say is empty should equals false. Something like that. Okay. And so now what? Well, this is supposed to take this view model says that I think it takes a user, right, of type provider. So we can probably say in here, some user, like that. And well, what's some user, Scott? Well, some user is something we need to define, right? So say in here, let some user equal, and this is where it's supposed to be a provider. You know what? Yeah, I have a test API that has all this. I shouldn't have to do all this. Mock submit, yeah, but you know what? I have a test API that I should be able to reuse, so I don't even have to say some email, some password for registration. I should be able to go to. This is going to be interesting. I should be able to add an existing project and somewhere keep going up to Nikeza server. Is it .test? Where's my test API at? I bet you my test API is a file. Yeah. All right. So what I want to do is I want to. If I bring in this test project, then all these tests are going to be discovered. And I don't want to run those tests, but I want the test API. What I could do is, all right, let me just bring this in. And the test API is this file right here. And there's all this. This is the stuff that I want. Some provider ID name. That's some provider topic. I want to be able to get access to all this right here. Provider. Where are you at, provider? And I don't have provider in here. That's impossible. I know I have a provider somewhere in here. And I don't see it. That's interesting. I have an empty profile. We could use that. But you know what? I expect there to be a provider. I don't see it. Some profile ID. Yeah. We have an empty profile here. Download this Nikeza.test. We don't need you anymore. Go back to our over here. So this is going to be for the some profile, and our provider is going to. Yeah, this is crap. I'll probably delete this video. What I want to do is this recent over here takes a provider, and we're going don't do that. This provider, can I get access to the type? It's not giving me access to the type. This provider is, I have to create the record for it. And so I could say let some provider equal something. I gotta open Nikeza dot data transfer, something like that. And can I go in here? Why won't you let me go in here? Okay. I need to get access to this provider. Do I need to build my entire solution first, and then it'll let me navigate to the definition of a provider? It says build failed. Oh, why did you fail, build? Control \E should bring up my, oh, okay, some users not defined. Yeah, I get it. Yo, come here for a second. Comment that out. See if we could build. We can build, okay, and then we go to this data transfer, and I want to be able to navigate to it. Okay, Nikeza.common, data transfer is over here. We have a provider request. What I should have, well, we have a provider right up here, okay? If we go to the definition of that, it looks like this. You have a profile request, topics, portfolio, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So I'm going to take that and yeah, this isn't the best use of this video because I know this is going to be fairly involved. Is say profile equals, and then over here say some profile, okay, which is defined up here and something like that. Okay. Some profile has no clue what an ID is. Are you happy with everything else? It's cool with no, it has no clue what the first name is. None of this stuff is defined. I thought I opened you up here. Do I need to open up Nikeza.common? Let's try that. Open Nikeza.common. Something like that. And now it's happy. It knows what a profile is, which means I should also know what a provider is. Which I was already in here. Yeah, yes, this is the same thing over here. Okay. State time now. It's not happy about. I need to import open.system. Okay. Some provider has no clue what topics are. Oh yeah, it's because I need to replace all of this with boom. Okay. And do something like just add a list. Oh yeah, you guys over here, you guys should be easy to do because you're all lists. Something like that. Portfolio. Uh, do that over here. Portfolio is going to be some portfolio. Why don't you recognize some profile? You're defined up here. Some profile. You're defined right up here. So what are you complaining about? Some profile. It says this expression was expected to have type profile request, but has type profile. Okay, so what were you expecting? You're expecting a profile request. All right, fine, whatever. Figure you out later, something like that. And it says password hash. It says doesn't contain. Yeah, that might be fine. Something like that. And created. Okay. He doesn't care about that either. Okay. And it's happy about everything else. Okay. And go up here. That some profile is now defined. We need to define some portfolio. So say let some portfolio equals. That's going to be something. Well, what is it going to be? Well, I got to figure out what portfolio is. Portfolio. What do you look like, portfolio? Answers, video. Yeah, we take you over here, homie. Oh, come here. Something like that. My friend, you are going to look like something like this. Yes. And some for hold up. Boom, boom. Say this. And we need to say you over here. Yo, come here. Something like that. Yeah. And do something like this. And something like that. Yes. We got some portfolio in here. It's recognized. Oh, yes. And our some provider is right here. That's recognized. Let's go back to our test that we're trying to build. Not build, but create. Same thing. Mismo cosa. And this should have an underscore in it because I have these conventions that I use. Okay, sounds good. And then we go back over here. And we go back to I'm coming out this test. Yes. And now what? Well, the sum user is really what do we have over here? We call this sum provider, right? And well, it is some provider. Well, yeah, okay, we'll call it some provider. It's really a user. Do something like that. Okay. And if we try to build everything, hopefully the compiler will be happy. And the compiler is happy. And so we say setup is latest equals instantiated view model in which we inject some provider. And our tests, we say latest.load, and we say for a verify latest.providers list.empty should equal false. All right. I'm like, okay. Now, if you notice, that test now shows up in here. Now, I know for a fact that when I run this test, it's going to fail because I didn't even introduce any type of dependency injection support. I hate that term, dependency injection. What I mean by that is I didn't introduce. Hey, I might be able to get rid of this. I didn't yet introduce support to test only business logic. So what I mean by that is if we look at this portal.recent and we look at the load operation, we see a query.latest, right? This query.latest, if we go over here, why are you not navigating there? This query latest, if we go over there, that's not what I wanted. Come here. Oh, where are you at? Okay, so if I go to my portfolio, no, I tried not to use the mouse, but you're not helping me, man. If I go to portfolio bounded context over here, that's reflected as a project. I'll go to query. This is, oh, is it query or is it, shoot, which one is this? Query only has portfolio. Subscriptions, I think is what we want. Query has latest, okay? It's going to return a get latest failed event with a reason of being not yet implemented. So what I want to do is, or what I wanted to say is this query, which is under this subscriptions bounded context, this is ultimately going to do IO, but by default, I just say that this is going to fail because I haven't yet implemented the web requests to hit the server, the Keza server that is powering this website over here. I haven't implemented that yet. So for all my IO operations, and I did the same thing with the registration form, they're all just going to be by default passing back errors or failures, right? And again, this is IO specific. What I want to do to test business logic is I don't want this latest to be executed, right? Because this is going to rely on IO ultimately. Instead, I want to mock this latest IO operation with, well, just some mock data. So I could prove that a query, well, I mean, I'm not really interested in proving the IO operation works, right? Because that's no longer a unit test. It's more of an integration test. But I do want to write a test that basically executes a load operation or any type of commands on a view model and ensures that the specific properties of a view model get updated with expected data. That's the goal of this test, right? So with that said, what I want to do is in my test API, which is over here, I want to have something like mock latest. Let mock latest. And well, that's going to output latest function, right? Which I'm not sure. Let me see. Fun. It's going to return a list of events, but in this case, it's just going to be an event called get latest succeeded, something like that. And it's going to have some provider, something like that. Now, this get latest succeeded, that if I hit control dot, no, it doesn't recognize anything. Control comma, that's over here. And so I need to import my Nikeza Mobile subscriptions events like this. And I need to import it up here. Yes. Say open pendejo. Yes. Okay. This data transfer doesn't know what it's talking about. Really? Okay. Whatever. And we go back down here. This latest function we need to implement, right? So that's within our query up here. And well, the latest function is here. We just need to recognize it. Open and something like that. Okay. Boom, 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 boom. That looks straight. That looks straight. System's not being used. Open try. You can come up here. Okay. If I try to build everything, then the result of my build is everything succeeds. Now, if I go back over here, what did I just do? Well, what I attempted to do is there was only a IO operation for getting latest, but in our automated tests, we want to test business logic. So I don't want to hit the IO module for getting latest, right? Because that relies on the external system. I just want to prove that when I call the load operation on my view model, that it's going to rely on this dependency and get some data. That's all. That's all I want to prove. And honestly, this probably isn't even worth testing, but I kind of feel better if I at least prove that I tested every command and every load operation of a view model. It gives me a warm, fuzzy feeling, right? So, okay, what the next step that we need to do is we need to inject this mock latest into our view model, right? That's the thought process so that it can actually be used. Else, it's going to continue to rely on our IO module for getting the latest providers within our subscriptions bounded context. So we inject user and we inject uh, latest function that's of, oh, how do we do this? It's of latest function, something like that. He doesn't know what that is. If I go to query, try get portfolio, that's not what I want. If I go to query over here, this is what I want. And I thought I imported this up here. And so what I want to do is I want to open subscriptions.query. And now the compiler's happy here. Latest function, we actually want to pass in over here, something like that. So now your query.portfolio, recent query portfolio, that's not what I want. That's for view provider. Yeah, that's not what I want. It's a different operation. Down here is the load, and we want to use that down here. So we say query latest, and then you say latest function, which I'm going to call, who's this? Which I'm going to call implementation. implementation, something like that. No, I don't like that. I'll just use latest function. And that has no clue what it is because I need to introduce it in here where I say fun and I say this is actually going to take 2. Latest function takes, no, how does this work? Query latest, and before it relied on just the profile ID. Well, now I need it to rely on a function that is going to, there we go. What I want to do is this right here. That's it. So then I could name this get latest, something like that. That's updated here. It's not really called latest. It's really recent. Get recent. Oh, you could say, yeah, get recent. And I want to rename this to recent function, something like that. Okay. So we have get recent function, which we injected into our view model, then we're using in the load operation, in which we provided a profile ID, user, profile ID, whatever. Okay. So when we do that, let me see what build errors I get, because I don't think I accounted for it in my test. No, I didn't. And so we have latest some provider. And then here we want to say mock. And I really want to call it recents, right? Because that's the naming conventions I want to use. I go to my test API and I say mock recent like that. And if I do it, let me silence my phone. Freaking people keep calling me, asking me if I want to work in a hick town. I like Miami. I don't want to work in your hick town. Okay. So everything succeeds. But the question is, will this test work? And I think the test will work because, well, the code compiles. And so, but we'll see, right? Latest providers, the test is actually verifying that latest providers is not empty when we execute this load operation of our view model that we call latest. And so our test API will actually return the list of some provider. And that's all we need, right? So if I run everything, which includes this test, I expect everything to be green. And if not, then that'll be interesting because then I'll spend the next, yeah, everything's green. So I just demonstrated how to write a unit test for loading data into a view model. This is something that 90% of programmers that actually get paid to program, well, they really get paid to debug because they don't spend that much time programming. We call them mainstream developers. This is what they don't know how to do, and this is what I try to help them learn. And then their insecurities and results in like drama and office politics because someone that looks like me or talks like me isn't supposed to show them a better technique of saving their customer money, resources, time, so that they could ship faster to market with higher quality, sustainable software. Anyway, that's me venting. Load recent links from providers. Set up, test, verify. The test is green and all my other tests are green, which means that I didn't create breaking changes, right? Or I didn't introduce breaking changes. And that's the beauty of automated tests. I wish people understood that, right? But they don't. They're professional debuggerers. They're not professional developers. Yeah, I'm being negative right now. Commit and say added recent, I don't know, call it links test. And we commit that to GitHub/Nikeza. And this went kind of smooth. I mean, there's a little hiccup when I had to introduce, actually, I forgot to remove this Nikeza test. I don't need you. I want to remove you, Nikeza test. Yes, I want to remove you. Yes. Okay. And we're good right now. That's it. So I hope I was sharing my screen the whole time. Stop sharing my screen. And what I attempted to do, because I'm practicing out loud, this domain modeling made functional by Scott Lashin, is I'm basically creating some view models, wiring them up to my workflow libraries. Well, not, no, let me start over. I'm creating my view models and I am wiring them up to my bounded context libraries. And this specific example, I am loading data, right? I'm loading providers that have recent links. And to do that, to test the business logic of the load operation, I inject a function into the constructor of my view model that is to be used for the load operation, so that instead of it relying on IO by means of a web request hitting an external system, I basically rely on my test API, thus executing pure domain logic. And I just demoed that. Good stuff, man. This is my pursuit, my relentless pursuit of achieving mastery. And even if it's impossible, I should still strive for it to make me a better developer and to help others, right? Knowledge is power. Anyway, I'm Scott Nimrod. I'm available for hire. I do native application development for both desktop and mobile. And I do test automation, and I enjoy functional programming. It's entertaining. Object-oriented programming, it's boring, and you have to be really, really diligent and rigorous, and you have to make sure that things are like, you have to try really hard to put things in place so that they all follow order. And when you work with a team, that becomes really hard to do. So that's it. I'm Scott. Adios. Peace.